Welcome to Your Family Dog, a podcast dedicated to helping families love living with dogs. Here are your hosts, Julie Fudge Smith and Colleen Pelar.
Hi, and welcome to Your Family Dog, Season 2. I'm Julie Fudge Smith, and I'm here with Colleen Pelar, and today we're going to start the show off with a question/comment from one of our listeners. This is from Danielle. She says, "Greetings. I'm a new listener to Your Family Dog and tell everyone I know about the podcast because the advice is so interesting." Thank you very much, Danielle. We appreciate that greatly. "I'm writing because my family holidays are a challenge, and I'm trying to plan ahead. My partner and I typically travel for Thanksgiving and leave our senior dog at home with a dog sitter because my brother-in-law's high-energy, food-motivated adolescent plot, Gracie, doesn't have great manners yet. I'm already planning to make stuffed Kongs and bring an arsenal of toys and treats because she hasn't learned to settle, jumps on guests, demand barks, and countersurfs. I'll offer to walk her and maybe look for puzzle toys too. Any other suggestions you have for managing her or her human's behavior would be really helpful. Thanks, Danielle." So, Colleen, what are your thoughts about Danielle?
I love this question for a variety of reasons, but the thing I really like best about Danielle's question is that she describes Gracie's behavior with a real sense of understanding. That she says she doesn't have great manners yet. I like that because it does take time for a dog to learn what the household rules are and then also what the household rules are when we have company. That's a challenge. So I think Danielle showing up with all sorts of ways to help Gracie do well is just lovely, and that makes me so happy. Then the question comes into, are the other humans in the house going to think that's lovely and make them so happy?
Yes.
That's the problem, because all of the words she used to describe Gracie here are kind, that she says she hasn't learned to settle yet. It takes time to learn these things. So when Gracie's doing these things, what Danielle is already doing is thinking of how to have alternative behaviors. She's talking about puzzle toys and stuffed Kongs and taking her for walks. And those are the answers. Honestly, those are the answers. Giving Gracie a natural outlet for her behavior is the key. But the challenging and tricky part is, of course, the human aspects involved here.
Right. And one of the things that she does ask is for managing or her human's behavior. And that is something we have talked about before, that you can't really control another person's behavior. You can try and influence, but you really can't control it. And that in itself is kind of a rub. The other thing I would say, too, is that it's interesting to me because she's heading into family. And sometimes family, they can be more willing for interference, so to speak, in how they're raising their dog. It's like, fine, you want to take your nephew or your niece dog out for a walk, that's fine with me. And it's not as sensitive to sort of come in with all these plans on how to manage the person's dog if it's a relative, depending on your relationship with that relative. However, I think if you're going to a friend's house or somebody's that you haven't grown up with and you know how to handle, coming in with all of these suggestions is a very delicate balance, because you want to come across, and she does, as being supportive and helpful. And, I so miss my dog, and I know she loves these kinds of things. I thought your dog would too, and it would make me really happy to share with you these things that my dog loves. That's different than saying, your dog's really out of control. And I think if you do these things that I tell you to do, your dog will be under control. That's a slightly different kind of thing. So I think that the thing she really needs to bear in mind is presentation and communication with the people that she's going to be with, so that they don't feel as if they're failing, but instead as if she's very caring, which she is. So I think that can be an issue.
And you said at one point, I miss my dog. And that could be a real door opening phrase.
Yes.
So if it would be a huge favor for you to allow me to walk your dog, because that would make me so happy. That's entirely different than I'm going to go walk your dog because she's crazy. But if you could let me take Gracie for a walk because, I'm just feeling kind of unmoored. My dog isn't here and I would so love to go walk a dog today. Then you're not implying anything other than, wouldn't it be nice for me if I could walk your dog? Not, wouldn't it be nice for all of us if your dog had her exercise today?
Right. And so I think, like I said, it's all presentation, how you choose. And I think, too, if you sit back and you think to yourself, how would I want somebody to come into my home and talk to me about my dog? Then I think that's a pretty good guideline, too, because nobody wants to be told. Even it's one thing for you to admit to somebody, my dog's kind of out of control here. This is really difficult. And then for you to come and say, gosh, your dog is really out of control. That's almost a surefire way to put somebody on edge. Well, she, whatever. So I think that that would be the one suggestion I would have, would be to consider carefully how you choose to present this to your brother and his family. But all the things that she wants to do for her dog, I'm like, you want to come to my house for Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
You're welcome. If your brother doesn't want you, I do. You can come. You can come walk my dog.
And
so.
One other thing that she mentioned in here is that Gracie counter surfs. Yes. And one thing to keep in mind with big family events is not everyone is aware of guarding food from dogs. So people who live with dogs are really aware of their own dog's tendencies, whether or not that's an issue. They've at least thought about things. But people who don't live with dogs will put a platter of food on a coffee table because it's a clean surface and set it down and go, oh my goodness, the dog just ate everything. Oh, well, yeah, you did just put that right near a dog. So Thanksgiving is all about the food. So let's not let Gracie have any transgressions that get her in trouble. And so for that can require a little advanced conversation, talking to people about, what are heights that are safe to put things on around Gracie and what aren't, and whether or not we need to have another plan for Gracie. So does Gracie want to invite herself to watch football in the basement with whoever's not cooking? Fantastic. Or does Gracie want to go for a walk? Or does Gracie want to have do we want to put a baby gate across the kitchen door? And so that she's outside the kitchen, but still right there, standing there looking devotedly at us and smelling all the smells. Whatever your solutions are, if you have some conversation in advance, that could be very helpful. Because Gracie licking the turkey is not going to go over well.
No.
And we're going to talk about it for the rest of her life and beyond. Do you remember the year that Gracie was licking the turkey? That was disgusting. Oh, okay. But it's normal dog behavior.
It is normal dog behavior. And I'm really glad you brought that up. And one of the things that I think that's another thing where you can also say to your brother, especially if you're like the first one there, something along the line of, how's Gracie doing? I know that she had a proclivity towards counter surfing before. Is that still the case? Because if it is, Mom or Aunt Judy may need a reminder about, heights. And if you'd like, I would happy to be the one to supervise that or, step in. And sometimes it's nice when people come, if they say, can I help? But boy, sometimes it's really nice if they come and say, can I do this for you? And that actually her brother might really appreciate that. Yes, if you wouldn't mind taking over the managing of Gracie's counter surfing, that would be great for me. And if you could remind others. So sometimes having a very specific suggestion about how you can help may also give you a way into talking about what the problem may be. So.
And a final thing that she mentioned is that she's leaving her senior dog at home. And when you have a senior dog, you have some health and concerns like that, but you typically don't have behaviors that make you crazy because by then you've figured out how to work with them. So it may be nice for your brother-in-law to hear that when your senior dog was young, she was a hooligan too. Yes. Because it's just sort of like you can come across with this, perception for people where, my dog doesn't do that. Well, yeah, my dog doesn't do that anymore. But when she was younger, oh, yeah, she got into mischief. It took us time. I totally get it that we're still working through things with Gracie.
Absolutely.
So I do love – oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I'll never forget the time, I think I talked about this in one of our podcasts, where I roasted a leg of lamb for Easter, and I went in to get it off the dining room table, And I lift up the platter, and it's like, holy cow, this is really light. They had lifted up the aluminum foil, taken the leg of lamb, and put the aluminum foil back where it was supposed to be. So, yes, so we still talk about it. Now it's very funny, and luckily we had already eaten, so it was just the leftover lamb. I was still looking forward to leftover lamb, but after that, we were much more careful about how far into the table one would put a platter of lamb.
Yes. And that depends tremendously dog to dog.
Absolutely.
There are dogs that, it could be right there at nose level and they wouldn't dream of doing it. And there are dogs that are going to stand on their hind leg and reach as far as they can because something smells so good.
I had a Shih Tzu who climbed onto the piano bench, then onto the keys, and then onto the top of the piano to get to my Frangos, my mint chocolate. I have this mountain climbing Shih Tzu. So it was like chocolate had to be sort of on the second floor with an armed guard, to protect it from the Shih Tzu. So
that it needs to be that way at my house too, to protect it from me. Yes. Need the armed guard. Stay away from the chocolate. So I think Danielle is really off to a good start, but the real trick here is going to be presenting things in a way that really shows her affection for dogs in general and for Gracie specifically.
Yes.
And I think she's off to a great start on that too. So basically, Danielle, we think you've got this.
Yeah, and we would love to know how things go. So
yes.
Danielle, if you're listening, let us know. Send us an email or send us a voicemail and let us know how things went at the holiday with Gracie, because we would love to do a follow-up on this.
You know what we should do, Julie? There is an advice columnist named Carolyn Hacks, and once a year she has an online chat called the Wedding Hootenanny, and everybody tells their horrible story of something that happened wedding related. And we should start gathering some of our stories about family events with dogs and see if we can share various people's "and then this happened" kind of story, because that would be hysterical, because we all have a story along the lines of, and then I lifted the tinfoil and we were missing a leg of lamb.
That would be great. So for all you
listeners,
guys
send in the ideas.
Yes, do send us in your, what we'll call it, dog hootenanny,
Maybe.
dog shenanigans.
There you go.
We would love to hear what you had to say. So
I think
yes, but Danielle, do get back to us, because we want to know. Inquiring minds need to know what happens with Gracie at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So, all right. So, is it ready for question number 2, Colleen?
We do. We have another question. This one came up both in your life and in my life recently, so we decided it was one that needed to be discussed. And the burning issue of the day is, why do dogs eat grass?
Yeah, there's a lot of theories out there. So I happen to have written a blog about it, so we'll do a link to my blog, which then has a link to a couple of other websites. What I found was interesting was the reasons that people thought dogs ate grass. And so one of the I think probably the most common one, I'm sure you've heard it and I've heard it several times, is that dogs eat grass because they have an upset stomach. Mm-hmm. And they need to either vomit or they need to defecate, and the grass will help move things through their intestines.
Or that the grass is going to soothe the stomach. So it's like a canine antacid. So I've heard both. Like, right. You eat the grass to get rid of the upset stomach by getting things out of you, or you eat the grass to get rid of the upset stomach by just settling what's inside you so that it continue processing normally.
Right. But the problem is with the grass is, did the dog eat the grass to make it vomit, or did eating the grass make the dog vomit? Mm-hmm. Because not because I needed to vomit, but eating grass just doesn't sit well on my tummy, so I vomit it up. So it's kind of hard to know which it's for. The one of the articles stated this: science offers no evidence linking eating grass with vomiting. It is shown that dogs already nauseated before grazing are more likely to throw up after eating grass. And the same goes for the supposed laxative properties of grass. One of the things you need to realize is that a dog's digestive tract is not designed to process grass. It's designed to process protein. And so grass will actually stay in the digestive tract longer than the protein. So therefore, it can't really act like a laxative if it's not moving things along. So there's no scientific hard evidence anywhere that dogs eat grass to make themselves vomit. If they're already nauseated, they were probably going to vomit anyway. And so that's the first one, is that dogs probably are not, that's too much of a stretch for them. The second
So
one
how about the salad theory? Dogs eat grass because it's some sort of nutrient they need.
Ah, thank you. That was actually the next lead-in. And that's probably not true either. Since they're not designed, their digestive tracts are not designed to process grass, they are not going to be likely to get the nutrition out of grass. And grass is not that high in nutrition anyway. You have to eat a lot of it to get any nutritional value. And then if you are feeding a high-quality food to your dog, there's no supplementation that's probably necessary. And that... and then in an article in Psychology Today by Dr. Stanley Coren, he says that dogs that had their diet regularly supplemented by plant matter, vegetables, or fruit were no less likely to eat grass, which seems to kill the idea that dogs are eating grass to make up for the absence of vegetable matter in their normal food routine.
So it's not a salad bar.
It's not a salad bar. So, now the one that I had not heard before, and I was looking when I was sort of researching this, was that dogs eat grass because their ancestors did. And that was really neat.
Their ancestors, the bison.
Yeah, that's right. I don't remember reading anywhere about the ancestral herbaceous wolf.
But when one is hungry, one is hungry. And wolves are not the world's most successful hunters.
That's true.
So if you've hunted and failed, you might eat grass versus nothing. But you would never pick grass. That wouldn't be.
No. And what is more likely is that they eat grass-eating animals. Mm-hmm. So when you eat deer or bison or elk or woolly mammoths, or what, I don't know if woolly mammoths ate grass or not, so I'm going to take that one back.
But she'll know by next week, because Julie is a researcher.
I will find out what the woolly mammoths eat. You know, there was one of the best intact woolly mammoth skeletons was found in Johnstown, Ohio, not 10 miles away from me, back in like 1942. It's in the the Ohio Historical Society. You can go see it. Next time you come to Ohio, I will take you to see it was a mastodon, or I think it was a mastodon. I'm sorry, not a woolly mammoth. Complete diversion. We're going to go right back to what did dogs' ancestors eat? But they did eat animals that ate grass. And when you are hungry, and as you pointed out, they are not always the best of hunters, that when you kill something, you eat everything that you can possibly eat. You crunch those bones apart to get the marrow out. You eat all the internal organs, which includes the stomach, which would include the grass that the bison, elk, local cows, whatever, had eaten.
Rabbits.
Squirrels.
Do squirrels eat grass?
That's
squirrels
what I was
nuts.
going to say. I think they eat mostly nuts and stuff. But then, why don't people wonder about, dogs eating acorns? I had a dog that loved acorns. Crunch, crunch, crunch.
Lots of dogs love acorns.
I had another dog loved cicadas.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, they were just really tasty.
Some dogs are crazy for cicadas. Like, you just think that is way too much junk food for you. Like, oh, boy. Because when cicadas come out, there are so many, there's really no preventing a dog from getting them. And the dog is like, magic.
Potato chips. They're like doggy potato chips. You can't eat just one. But anyway, but I'm thinking that they're eating the cicadas and they're eating the grass and they're eating all these other things for one primary reason. And it's not because they have an upset tummy. And it's not because they need a nutritional supplement. And it's not because that's what the wolves and their very distant relatives of wolves did. Most dogs eat grass. Now, hang on to your socks, folks, because this is just revolutionary. Okay? Most dogs eat grass because it tastes good. That's why they eat it. You might find that your dog eats grass more in the spring than in other times of the year. And that's because grass in the spring tends to be more tender and sweeter because the sugars are rising to get the grass to grow. But that's really it. And Dr. Corn agrees with me, as does the vet who asked Dr. Corn his question. He thinks it's because it tastes good. And it really is the simplest and most logical explanation.
Yeah.
I mean, why do I eat potato chips? Because they taste good.
Yes.
I haven't tried a cicada, so I can't compare, like cicadas to potato chips. But, that's really the reason why dogs are doing it. And you might find, too, that your dog, like my dogs, will not eat the grass in the... I kind of wish they were more goat-like and ate the grass that's in the lawn so I didn't have to mow. No. They eat my ornamental grasses.
The expensive ones that you carefully planted?
Yes. Crunch, 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 crunch. And they also tend to like to eat the stuff that grows along where we go hiking. Like, they'll be running along and running along. Suddenly we stop. We must eat this weed. And then we run again. And so far, neither one of my grass-eating dogs has vomited grass. So, there you go. What about you, Colleen? Do you have a grass eater?
Not really. A little bit here and there. Just like, well, I'll have a taste. But he's not a big grass eater. Previous dogs have been. And frequently with the vomit, like you're like, oh, yay, grass vomit on my carpet. Thank you. So I'm not a huge fan of dogs eating grass just because I have such a negative association with grass vomit.
Right.
So I don't know why they're doing it. I mean, I do know why they're doing it, but I don't know if there are any other things that cause that vomit. Like what am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to go back to number one. Did my dog have an upset stomach and think I want to eat grass? That's the question. Or did the grass come back up that way? But I have cleaned up too much grass vomit to enjoy watching a dog eat grass.
That's true. And besides that, the grass vomit is never on the sidewalk as we're heading into the house.
No. It has to be on the carpet.
Yeah, especially if you just had it cleaned. That's my favorite. And the little Shih Tzu that would climb on the piano to get the chocolates. Then one Christmas, my sister-in-law sent my husband a huge bag of M&Ms for this little M&M dispenser. She didn't tell us she sent us the M&Ms. And it sat underneath the Christmas tree, and Bilbo found it, ate the entire pound bag of M&Ms, and then promptly threw it all up on my white carpeting. So,
well, if we're going to tell gross vomit stories, I have one too. We had advent calendars that were Tootsie Rolls tied to strings, and there were 4 kids in my family. So the countdown to Christmas with all of the Tootsie Rolls on these felt strips. And one day our dog ate all of the advent calendars and Tootsie Rolls and then vomited them up. And the nice thing about Tootsie Rolls is they're individually wrapped. So it was vomit and chocolate and paper. Yay, dogs! My mother's still scarred. She's like, no advent calendars ever, ever, ever. Advent calendars are bad because dogs. So this sort of loops us back around to Danielle's question, which is dogs being dogs. So sometimes they're going to explore and do and eat things that we wish they wouldn't. It might be grass. It might be your chocolate on top of the piano. It might be the M&Ms under the tree. Could be an advent calendar. And it could be the Thanksgiving turkey. So we do want to have a plan for what we're going to do when dogs are acting like dogs.
That's right. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for this week, Colleen. Thank you very much. And once again, anybody who has an interesting and lively story about their dog's behavior during the holidays or otherwise, we would love to hear from it. Please do.
Yeah. Record it as a voice memo and send it in. We'd love to hear you tell the story because that would be even better.
That's right. And if they want to do that, what number do they call, Colleen?
Well, no, if they send it as a voice memo, they should email it because they'll attach it as a file. So email it to feedback@yourfamilydogpodcast.com. That would be the very, very best. You could call the phone number, but I don't know how long the answering machine is, so we'll see. That's 614-349-1661. But if you want to think about your story and all of the fun shenanigans that your dog did, we would so love for you to share those with us because dogs give life some interesting moments.
They do. That's a great way of putting it. That is a great way of putting it. And not only interesting, but what wonderful moments. And certainly many of the times that we look back on our dogs and we tell stories about our dogs, it's not when they were perfectly behaved.
No. And some of the things we miss about dogs when they're gone are not the moments that they were perfectly behaved either,
Yes, I agree. I think about one of the things that Bingley used to do is he would take a clicker and put it in his mouth, and he'd lean around the door of my office and click it at me and run off, and we'd have to play this game of run and chase for the clicker. So, and I miss that terribly. Never had another dog to click at me. So, all right, Colleen, that's great. I will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Your Family Dog. Got questions? Interesting ideas? Colleen and Julie would love to hear them. Call 614-349-1661 or visit www.yourfamilydogpodcast.com to share your thoughts.